Four protesters who took over a £50 million mansion in Belgravia belonging to a sanctioned Russian oligarch have come down and been arrested. The group got into the property last night, saying they wanted to open it up to Ukrainian refugees. Before the protests, London's mayor said it would perhaps be a good use of the home and even poetic justice. Martin Stews spoke to the protesters before they came down.
In the dead of night, activists occupied the home of an oligarch sanctioned for his ties to Putin's deadly regime.
No justice, no peace!
This £50 million Belgravia mansion is believed to belong to Oleg Deripaska, a Russian industrialist with a £2 billion fortune. Eyebrows have previously been raised over his association with British politicians, including Peter Mandelson and George Osborne. But it's Russia's invasion of Ukraine which has prompted this protest.
The headlines. The battle for Ukraine goes on. A Russian strike on a block of flats in Kyiv kills one person and injures 12.
This is the nightmare for the city. More attacks like this, and of course, they're vulnerable to missile strikes. But Kyiv is big and it's sprawling, and the defenders have many advantages, which they're using.
Scenes of devastation in the southern port city of Mariupol, where food, water and heating are said to have become desperately scarce. The United States warns it's watching China very closely for any attempt to help Russia in its attack on Ukraine. And an anti-war protester interrupts primetime news on Russian state television, denouncing the war in Ukraine.
What it shows is that despite the Kremlin's almost total control of the media, it's still struggling to persuade some people within the system that what the Kremlin is doing is right.
Let's see what's on this morning's front pages. The Eye says thousands of British families have already signed up to host refugees after the announcement of that government scheme. The Sun leads with the same story, saying 43,000 people have offered to take in those fleeing the conflict. That's also on the front of the Daily Mail. Caring Britons rush to join new scheme is their headline. While the Times says the online registration site crashed shortly after it opened as people rushed to sign up. 3 Brits killed in missile hell. That's the headline for the Daily Mirror as they report on the Russian airstrike near that Polish border over the weekend. Same story, making the front of the Daily Express there. And the Guardian also looks at the developing situation in Ukraine. Their headline, Russia's deadly raids plunge Ukrainians into nightmare. The Daily Telegraph, meanwhile, reports on comments made by Boris Johnson about the West's dependence on Russian oil and gas. Their headline, West made terrible mistake with Putin, says PM. And the Metro leads on the protesters who stormed the home of a Russian oligarch in London. Their headline, you're Putin us up, mate. And if you want to see any of those front pages again or read the stories, scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you to the press review on the Sky News website. Now, the US has told allies that Russia has requested military equipment, including missiles, drones and armoured vehicles from China. Russia has dismissed the reports, saying it has no reason to seek military assistance from anyone else. And China's foreign minister has insisted that his country is, quote, not a party to the war. The Secretary-General of the United Nations has warned that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is holding a sword of Damocles over the world economy. Antonio Guterres says that developing countries face soaring food, fuel and fertilizer prices. Russia and Ukraine represent more than half of the world's supply of sunflower oil and 30% of the world's wheat. The Russian oligarch, Roman Abramovich, has been seen in Israel. The Chelsea Football Club owner was filmed at an airport in Tel Aviv. He is believed to have travelled to Istanbul. Mr. Abramovich was among 7 Russian billionaires added to that British sanctions list last week.
Our headlines for you today. The Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, is rocked by several large explosions as the city's residents continue to prepare for a potential siege by Russian forces.
A Russian journalist is arrested after an astonishing protest about the war on state-run TV. She's later praised by Ukraine's President Zelensky.
Turning their house into a home for Ukrainian refugees, around 45,000 people sign up to the government scheme within hours of it going live. Let's get right up to date with everything that has been happening overnight in Ukraine. John, there have been several developments, haven't there?
There have. We've just been going through the latest pictures. Thank you both. Good morning to you at home. This is how things are looking this morning. Let's start in the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv. There's evidence that the Russians are targeting the capital more and more over the last few days, and we've seen more devastation just in the last couple of hours. Take a look at these pictures. These are from a residential area in the west of Kyiv, a 9-storey apartment block and a 16-storey block of flats, both hit, causing serious damage and intense fires, and the emergency services there kind of going between these two sites, trying to bring them under control. We understand that at least 2 people have been killed. Others have been injured. Many challenges there, and one of the metro stations in the capital has also been affected with another blast. But there is some positive news if we come out and look at the Sumy region of Ukraine, over there in the northeast, close to the border. There's been heavy shelling there over the last few days. We know that lots of people have been trapped. You might remember a story last week about lots of international students who were stuck and couldn't get out. There was power lost and water lost. Well, we are hearing in the last hour or so from official forces that there are going to be 4 evacuation routes operating today from these 4 cities, from Sumy itself and these 3 other cities, which should get some people out. Those evacuation routes will supposedly, if it all goes to plan, start at 9 o'clock this morning and will last till 9 o'clock this evening. But having said that, the pictures that are getting the most attention Ukraine-wise this morning are not pictures of war or damage. It's these pictures of the evening news on Russian TV. Look, the broadcast is interrupted by a journalist on Channel 1 who runs onto the set with this poster which says in Russian, "No war, stop the war, and don't believe the propaganda." Now remember, even referring to this conflict as a war in Russia can get you jailed. So for this journalist to do that so publicly was an extraordinary act of defiance. And Ukraine's President Zelensky praised her in his address overnight.
I am grateful to the Russians who do not stop trying to convey the truth, to those who fight disinformation and tell the truth, real facts to their friends and loved ones, and personally to the woman who entered the studio of Channel 1 with a poster against the war.
Well, that woman is now thought to be in police custody. There are several human rights groups and legal groups trying to find her, but they say there is no sign at the moment. And it's hard to imagine the situation in which she finds herself right now. Such a public act, such a moment will have absolutely infuriated the Kremlin, seen live by millions in Russia and now seen by many more live around the world.
John, thanks very much. Now, 7-year-old Amelia melted hearts around the world when a video of her singing Let It Go in a bomb shelter in Kyiv was posted on social media, delivering a moment of hope in the middle of a war.
Amelia is now thankfully safe with her grandma in Poland, and Graham Satchell has been catching up with them both.
A packed bomb shelter falls silent as 7-year-old Amelia starts to sing. Her rendition of Let It Go from the film Frozen, a moment of defiance and hope in the chaos of war. A week on, Amelia is still singing, this time a Ukrainian folk song. Amelia has made it out of Ukraine and is now in Poland with her grandmother Vera, but her parents are still in Kyiv.
What was it like in the bomb shelter, Amelia?
Нормально. It was okay. There were other children there. My classmate Artyom was there too.
Can you tell me what you like about the film Frozen?
Мне очень нравится Эльза и Анна. I really like Elsa and Anna.
И еще мне нравятся Кристоф и Свен.
And Kristoff and Sven.
These are other characters in the cartoon. Sven is a reindeer, and Christoph is a human being. At the end of the second part, Christoph marries Anna.
Vera, what do you think of your granddaughter and her singing?
I know that she really loves singing. She really does sing from morning till night. She dreams of being a singer, and we told her, look, your dream has come true. You sang in the bomb shelter, there were many people and they applauded you. And she's very pleased that she made her dream come true.
The reaction to Amelia's singing has been extraordinary. Idina Menzel, who plays Elsa in the film, said, "We see you. We really, really see you." And Kristen Anderson, who co-wrote the song, said, "The way you sing it is like a magic trick that spreads the light in your heart and heals everyone who hears it."
Amelia, the video of you singing was seen by millions and millions of people all around the world. What do you think of that?
I would say thank you that you enjoy my singing. I practice singing every day in the morning, afternoon, and evening. I rehearse, and that is why it turned out so well. It has always been my dream to sing.
This is Amelia in happier times, a 7-year-old girl at home with her cat, reading with her mum. She is now one of more than 1 million Ukrainian children separated from their home, their country, and in Amelia's case, her mum and dad, who have stayed to help fight the Russians.
Vera, what do you think about what's happening in your country?
It is sad, very, very sad, very wild. Nobody can believe it is actually happening. I kneel before our military, our boys, our soldiers. They are very strong, very beautiful people. We will not surrender Ukraine. We shall never surrender.
And Amelia, what do you hope will happen for you and your family in the future?
I would be very happy to be with my mother and father. In Kyiv, of course.
The extraordinary resilience of the Ukrainian people embodied in one little girl and the words of one song.
Что прошло уже не вернуть. Отпусти и забудь. Новый день он кажет путь.
Браво, браво!
I love her face at the end.
I know. I suppose she puts her hands up over her face. And it's the fact that there she was, singing a song that she loves in a bomb shelter, and it's gone around the world. And
exactly, and it's that whole moment has reached some really interesting people, like you know, stars from the film, the woman who wrote it, and really, really gorgeous.
Yeah, and thank you to both of them for talking to Graham Saxon on that report for us on BBC Breakfast this morning.